Hello, everybody. This is Josh, and am positively negative. Please subscribe if you like it. If you don't, then don't. Anyway, on Telegram, I did the 4 or 5 main goals of Satan to take over the world, and I discussed why he's wanting to do it. You know, it leads up to the Great Tribulation. If you're into Bible prophecy, you know all about that. But I'm going to be doing a single post for each goal, and then discussing how the powers of darkness would, what steps that they would probably take to accomplish that goal. So now we're on number 2, and number 2 is equalizing the planet in terms of the economic classes of people. Okay, so what will the dark forces do to accomplish the economic equalization of everybody? Well, number 1, they will develop a larger, or when I say they, I'm just saying like Satan and his demons behind the scenes. What I discussed earlier was that whenever I watched Alex Jones, he always said there's always this small group of people, and they're all trying to take over the world, and they have these master goals and things. And I never really fully embraced his ideas. But the things that have been happening in the past 3 years have opened my eyes that the spiritual powers are taking over the world, and it's not really one group of people. I mean, when you look at all of the food plants catching fire, different kinds of things, you cannot give an explanation that there is this one group of power, people, lifting their fingers and moving the puppets. So anyway, my main point is that these are spiritual powers behind the scenes influencing people. Alright, so number 1, develop a larger group of nations to join together. So the ultimate goal is to bring a group of nations together, and then there's going to be larger groups of nations, probably 10, and then they all join together to create a one world government. But in the beginning, they are going to try and develop bigger groups. We see this recently with the war between Russia and Ukraine. This seems to be a polarizing thing, where nations are coming together behind the Ukraine, and these nations are coming behind Russia. But another thing that is sort of collecting nations together is the COP27, the COP27. That's the 27th Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Control, Climate Change. Is that too long a name, right? So they just shorten it to COP27. But it's mainly about climate control. And they decided to pay poorer nations who are the victims of the richer nations. And this is basically the same thing as you join our group and you will enjoy our benefits. So they want you to join their group and you can get money, right? There are other areas of the global government bodies that are doing the same sort of things, such as World Bank. They have a poverty and shared prosperity program. They are promoting the idea that larger nations will be forced, probably through taxation, to help pay the poorer nations so that they can develop faster. So that is an equalizing thing, right? So number two step in this equalizing goal is to force shutdown of industries. So faster, richer nations wait so that the slower, poor nations can catch up to them. I think Obama sort of he sort of suggested this will happen in the future, that we will have to let other nations catch up to us. So through the COVID-19 lockdown, whether it was actually planned or not, that remains to be. Many people speculate that there are people behind this, but it could be just spiritual powers that influenced a main goal, and that main goal was to lock down some of the larger nations so that their economic cycle will slow down. And so that was mainly for the biggest nations. And if there is to be a new pandemic, those poorer nations that will have gotten the funding and saying, you're in COP27 now, and we've been giving you money, now they will be threatened to do as they're told, otherwise they don't get the money. So they join the group, say, oh, there's all these benefits, and then when we have a global pandemic, they'll say, you have to do these things, otherwise you don't get money. So I'm a person that likes to think visually, and I have an analogy for this type of thing. I don't know if you like this analogy, but the American economy is like a tub. There's this children's book called The Tub People. It's just a bunch of toys that are around the tub that children play with. And so the American economy is like a tub, and we are the little toy people in this tub. And as there is more money, which is the water, the people, the toys, added to the economy. So more people, more money, the economy, to the economy, to the tub. The more likely that there will be people suffering at the bottom and not being able to get to the top. You'll have more money, you'll have more success when you're at the top of that tub. But you have to accomplish that through your own merits. And it seems like recently, and the goal of in the future, is that there's this group of people in that tub that have gotten a ladder. They reached for the valve to drain the tub, and now all of the money's being drained, the water's, and then we're all equalized at the bottom. But yet at the top of the tub are those people in power, and they still have a lot of money. But everybody else, the little people, were equalized. Slaves, basically. Anyway. Number 3. So number 1 was develop a large group of nations to join together with the incentive to get money. And then number 2 is to shut down the bigger nations so that the smaller nations will join. Be equalized, so to speak. And then number 3 is to distract the population. So that means, the American government is the most professional at distracting their own citizens. They've become very good at it. There are too many to list, but the overall theme of the distraction is the same. Whatever they accuse you or the other people of doing, it's the very thing that they are actually doing. You guys are racist, but actually what they're doing is a racist kind of thing. Or you're trying to waste the taxpayers' money, but they are actually wasting the money. The whole two-party system should be relabeled the distraction system, right? You have these two people and they're arguing and everybody's just super focused on them, and it's just so distracting because we're not actually seeing what the whole system is accomplishing. So I said, this distraction system could be called desist. But the ironic thing is desist means do nothing. and that system really does nothing for the American people. Alright, so number 3, that was distraction the people. And then number 4 is to bring out universal income. Many people have suggested this, especially through the COVID-19 epidemic. This was sort of presented to the people during lockdowns. And there's a road called equity. We have two words, is it equality and equity. Now the road called equity is a dead-end road, and it ends in a dark alley called universal income. Now one could argue that these two things, work and universal income, they're both kind of cages. You work, and you're sort of trapped in this, I work so I can buy things, and I want these things so I work. And you have this sort of cycle. And the universal income can be a trap also. But I would much rather have the freedom to succeed or fail based on how much effort I put forth. Now the darkest part of UI is that once you start accepting the money, just like those smaller nations, they're going to have to do things. And so if you get money from the government, they're going to expect that you are going to do something. And if you don't do it, you won't get the money. So it's like a carrot stick right in front of your face, and you say, oh, I want to go this way. Oh, I want this. I really want the carrot. So a similar illustration could be back when the lockdowns were. They were telling the churches to shut their doors, don't have services. And many of the governments were saying, state governments, they were saying that we will revoke your tax exemption if you do not shut your doors. So this was a very dividing kind of thing, and the more principled and biblically based churches, they were willing to say, fine, I won't take the tax exemption. I'll start paying taxes, but I'm going to do what biblically I should be able to do. So these two things, the universal income, and it tied together with CBDC, the digital money that has requirements built into it. When you combine those two things, this is the worst thing that can happen to this is the main point when you're looking at all of these things that Satan wants to do. In the beginning, it looks like a very positive thing, but it's very sugar coated, but when you go down to the core of it, it is an absolute nightmare and only benefits Satan to accomplish his plan, but at what cost, think about everything that Satan's offered in the Bible. It has a positive aspect, but a very negative outcome. So anyway, I'm just going to end it right now, but all of those steps that I listed, they end with a terrible outcome. So when you think of equity, that is what the American culture has been preaching for the past 4 or 5 years. Equity, equity, equity. We need everybody to be the same, and we're going to force everybody to be the same. Equity is not the same as equality. I think the church has always supported equality. Biblically, every man is equal in the eyes of God. Especially, if you're a famous person, if you're a person in power in this world, you stand before God. God doesn't care what you were. Who knew who you were during that time you were on earth? He doesn't care about those things. But he knows that all people are the same, and he's going to be looking at what we've done with our lives. And the terrible thing with CBDC is, even if we want out of the universal income, the CBDC makes it so difficult to actually support your family. You basically have to run away into the woods, be able to start a garden and hunt for your own food, and be self-sustaining. Your quality of life, it will drop immensely. But you gotta stick to your principles, right? I've been thinking about this for years. And I know that this is going to happen. Biblically, the signs are there. So the prophecies have said it's going to be that way. Hopefully we get raptured soon, but who knows how close we get to that tribulation time. There's going to be some negative steps just before the big tribulation happens, Anyway, I just wanted to share with you guys about things that we should be thinking about. If we understand the goals and we see the steps that they're going to take, we can think about how we can prepare ourselves, what is going to happen, so we can be ready. And hopefully stick to our guns. I pray that every one of you will be able to stay strong in your faith, and we lean on the Holy Spirit to give us strength and peace about each and everything that happens to us. God bless.